I've made over $1 million trading meme coins, and if you don't believe me, I've made over hundreds of thousands on these 5, 10, 20x calls you can see on the screen right now. So let me show you how you can make this kind of money from 2 strategies that you need to use and how you can copy this exact process. These are the exact strategies that I used to make my first 100K, and with the market finally picking up, this is the best time to pick up these strategies. So without further ado, let me show you how I can make over $5,000 a day trading meme coins and how you can pick up this exact process. So when it comes to trading, there's 2 types of strategies you can use in the trenches. The first one I'm going to talk about is scalping. So scalping is not about conviction. It's not about holding long term. You're pretty much just taking advantage of these short bursts of volume and momentum on a short-lived narrative, right? You're getting in, you're getting out, and you're stacking consistent wins, but you're not here to marry the coin, right? Your whole goal here is really just to stay liquid and dump on other people. You're playing like an on-chain terrorist here. So every trade, I'm just gonna ask myself one thing. Can I get in before others and sell on their heads before they realize what's happening, right? You wanna make people absolutely hate you when they see your wallet pulling up. But before you can scalp anything, we need to get your setup right, because that's gonna help you be as fast as possible on the charts. So the first thing we're going to need is a PC or a laptop. Speed's the most important thing for scalping, so don't be a lazy idiot and try to trade on your phone. It's not going to work. You're going to get out traded by your grandma. Don't do it. The next thing we're going to need is a Twitter, Telegram, or Discord account to stay updated with what's on the timeline. Crypto's an attention and information market, and these are going to be your 3 main sources of information. So anytime you're not trading, you're probably just going to spend the rest of your time on these. And later on in the video, you're going to find out why Twitter especially is super important. And speaking of Twitter, if you want free alpha, go ahead and follow my Twitter in the description down below. There's going to be free value for you, so just go ahead and drop a follow. Next thing we're going to need is obviously capital. You can't make money without money in trading. Brutal truth, I know, but that's just the way it is. So if you can't afford at least 0.5 SOL per trade, just go ahead and try to build your base portfolio up, work a 9 to 5 or some other side hustle until you can comfortably afford right here 0.5 SOL per trade. Without sufficient capital, these profits not only aren't going to be worth your time, but you will get absolutely destroyed by fees. Especially when you're scalping, you're going to make a ton of transactions. So if you don't have the capital required to support all these fees that are going on, you will get killed. So take my advice and try to get some starting money first. For personal reference, I started with $500 and I was able to make that work. So you don't really need too much, just to the point where fees aren't really going to affect you as much. And finally, you're going to need a trading bot that's going to help you get into your trades as fast as possible, deduce information as accurately as possible, and also be the cheapest to save on your fees. So for that, we're going to be using AXIOM Pro as your trading bot for this strategy. So now let me show you how to set that up and the filters that I use for this strategy. So the first thing you need to do is go to the AXIOM link in the description down below and make sure the referral code says Fortune right here at the bottom. Through this code, you'll get 20% off all fees on top of already being the cheapest bot to use in the market. No need to thank me. Once you're here, you can sign up using either your Gmail or your Phantom wallet. Now that you're signed in, first place we're going to head to is the poll section right here. So this is where every new token is going to pop up in real time. It's pretty much a radar. But without a filter, as you can see, there's coins literally spawning every millisecond. There's tons of spam, garbage popping up in your face, and we want to be able to filter out that noise. So first thing I'm going to do is open up my new pairs filters, head to metrics right here, go to minimum market cap and make that 10,000. And this is the only filter we're going to use. There's no need to overcomplicate things. So now I'm going to hit apply all, then I'm going to head to my presets, and then for slippage, we're going to make that 30%. And for the priority and bribery, I personally do 0.003 for each. But if you are playing with a smaller port, and just be aware, this strategy is going to eat up a lot in fees. You can adjust this to your personal portfolio. So if let's say I'm doing a challenge wallet and I'm trying to save a little bit on fees, I can make this 0.001 for priority and then 0.001 for bribery. That's perfectly fine. And then make sure to turn on MEV reduction. And then we're going to do the same thing for the sell settings. And now we're good to go. And then for the quick buy, for me, I trade with about 3 to 5 SOL for my quick buy. But if you're playing with a smaller port, you can make this 0.5 SOL, 1 SOL, 2 SOL, whatever the amount that the first transaction you're going to buy, you're comfortable with. And a neat little trick I like to do, let's say I have 3 SOL right here, I'm going to make it 0.000. And now the button's a lot easier to press. It's going to make sniping into these coins a little bit easier. Next, let's get your trackers right, because a lot of coins spawn from tweets and this Twitter tracker is going to help you catch them. And with how many good coins are popping up, you might miss a couple good ones here and there. So let's get your wallet tracker set up as well. So what I'm going to do is head to add Twitter handles, head to top subscriptions right here, and then head to wallet manager. And in the description below, I've attached a doc with some popular Twitter accounts and some popular wallets you can track just to get you started. But please do not blindly copy trade the wallets that I'm I'm sending you. It's one of the easiest ways to watch your portfolio. So with that in mind, the wallet tracker is just to understand where the attention is going. Always have your own conviction and do your own research before you buy into any coin. So now that you're all set up, let's go into how you're actually going to be able to identify coins that you're going to scalp. So when I'm scalping, I'm looking for 3 things. 1, if the coin's not too sniped or harshly bundled. 2, an eye-catching narrative. And 3, a volume spike, whether that comes from initial buyers or copy trader wallets. So first, let's start with the legitimacy check. For this, AXIOM and experience is going to carry you. You can see these little indicators on AXIOM. If a coin has a snipe percentage, a high bundle percentage, high dev wallet percentage, or if it's a copy coin done in the past, which you can check by just opening it up, scrolling down, you can see similar tokens. You generally want to ignore the coin and go next. But when you're scalping, these percentages matter a little bit less. When you're scalping, your job is to beat the house. It doesn't matter if the coin is bundled if you're in and out before the bundle sells. So take these stats with slightly less importance. Especially for the bundles, they're not always a bad thing. It just means that the supply is a little bit more controlled. For example, a lot of these coins that quickly migrate with bundles get a ton of initial volume. And while yeah, those coins are pretty risky to hold longer term, if you're just scalping them, you can take advantage of that initial wave of volume and just get in and out for some quick profits. For example, this coin on my challenge wallet, MCU, I made 1.3k on this. The stats are pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. We got a 39% being held by top 10 holders, now over 8% dev holding, 8% being held by snipers, so on, so on. But it didn't matter because I wasn't holding this long term. I went in and out, flipped it for a quick 1.3k, then moved on to the next play. So, like I said, you can take these stats with slightly less importance. Now, let's move on to the narratives that you need to focus on for this style. And if you've been watching my videos, you probably hear me say this word narrative over and over, but I don't say it just to say it, because narrative is still the most important part of valuing any coin. And even when you're scalping, narrative is going to be the most important thing when it comes to knowing what coins you're going to be scalping. Even when you're going in and out instantly, you can only make money on coins with attention-grabbing story. Remember, crypto's an attention market. That means narrative is the only thing that determines whether a coin will make you money or not. But when you're scalping, you don't really need to restrict yourself so much. Remember, you're going in and out. Your edge is that you can make money off short-lived narratives. So let's run down what kind of narratives you're looking for when you're scalping. First things first, always figure out the story behind everything you're buying and determine whether it's a fake or a copy, how important that piece of information is. Because when you're scalping, you're looking for something that grabs your eye immediately. That short initial volume at the start or bounces off dips are what you're looking for. Next, does it fit the meta? People are more likely to initially buy into co-plays of the current alpha. There's constantly going to be new coins spawning off people who are crying because they missed the alpha play. So if it seems like a solid beta, you're pretty much guaranteed to get some initial volume and a few bounces off the retraces. And finally, what future catalysts are left? Like I said before, if you're listening, this isn't really as important, right? Your job here isn't to hold a coin for hours, but instead you want to just look at how strong the narrative looks from an initial view. You need to plan how long you're going to hold the coins for. In the case for scalping, most of your trades are going to range from a few seconds to a few minutes at most. You need to always ask yourself if there are any actual bull catalysts left that are strong enough to interrupt your trading style, right? You want to keep your win rate consistent here. Always ask yourself if there's any attention-grabbing, realistic news left that hasn't been covered that's strong enough to interrupt your trading style. If not, just take your consistent profits from scalping, right? We want to keep our win rate consistent here. Also, you need to remember that in this market, there's very few coins with actual future bull catalysts. A lot of them are just forced narratives. So if I take this coin, for example, it might catch the market's eye at first. It's funny, haha, Hertz coin. But after the initial pump, there's no realistic future bull catalyst that's going to pump this anymore. When is Herd coin ever going to be picked up by someone with influence? In most plays, if you're smart, you're just going to TP and move on. Now, the final fundamental of this strategy is understanding the price action when you're scalping these coins. When you're scalping, price action is obviously extremely important. You should only be scalping coins with a high level of volume. And I mean, sky's blue. You can't take money out if there's no one to buy after you. If you're buying after the third local top of a new pair, there's probably not going to be much juice left in the coin. So once you grasp the narrative of a coin and determine whether it's going to get attention or not, there's 3 main entries you want to look for. 1 is extremely early entry. If you can understand the narrative of a coin quickly enough and determine that it's bullish, go ahead and buy in. If you're not, with how volatile meme coins are, instead you're going to want to wait for either a flash dump or an extremely hard retrace, which is going to come either from moderate FUD, and FUD means bad news, which is not enough to kill the coin, but enough to give you an entry for a quick little flip on the chart, or a liquidity rotation from a new runner spawning that's going to vamp the coin that you're looking at. For new pairs, you don't really need to research too intensely here. Don't stress yourself out. Just gauge how the narrative looks initially and throw a little bit in. When it comes to scalping higher market cap coins though, you're generally going to look for a 60 to 80% retrace, buy in, and then get out on the bounce. Remember though, in either of these cases, price action is going to generally be narrative dependent. If the story is strong enough and you're there when it spawns, ignore what I said. Feel free to top last if you're early enough on the wave of volume. So now that we understand the fundamentals of the strategy, let's jump into some real trades. And if you're getting a lot of value from this video, and I know you are because you're a disciplined trader who's paying attention, you can click the top link in the description down below to apply to work with me personally. We've caught pretty much every single runner in these past several months, like our 10x on Housecoin, our 8x on Let's Bonk, which we made over $500,000 on. So go ahead and apply if you want to trade with some of the best players in the crypto space. This is another pretty good example of a good scalp opportunity. Distribution is giving me some red flags, especially that bundle percentage. But like I said before, it doesn't matter if we're going in and out on a decent short-lived narrative. So bought 1500 right there on this flash dump. I'm going to wait for a quick pump to get out, which I know is going to come because this coin right here is fighting with another coin with the same exact name. And it's getting high initial volume from people rotating liquidity out of that other coin. So mine shares on this one right now, which we can tell from the volume and wallets buying in. But just in case it's not, I'm prepared to cut losses as soon as possible. Goal right here is to just leave with a quick scalp. Took my initials out there. I'm going to wait to exit the little bit I still have in. Just capitalizing off the short-lived attention. Volume's still hot, but it's pretty clear the bundle's suppressing the chart. Mine share's about to rotate back out. So just going to sell the rest of my position right here. In less than a minute, I just made over $500. So this is a coin that's got pretty good potential for a scalp. We're going to buy in small with 3 SOL. And this coin Clout is something with a short-lived narrative. It fits the meta of AI virtual curve coins right now, but at the end of the day, it's just some coin with a little bit of potential lore that was found on Twitter with no real future bull catalyst. So I'm just going to capitalize off the volume that it's getting and wait for a quick exit with few percent that I've got on this coin here. Still getting a bit of mind share. Volume is slowing down a bit, so just going to wait for one more pump and sell my position right there. Volume's tapering off, so just going to nuke my bag here. And just like that, in literally just a few seconds, I made $200. Painted the chart red while doing so, but who cares? At the end of the day, I'm the one who made money and everyone else is still stuck in a coin with no realistic future bull catalyst. And sure, that $200 may not seem like a lot, but those small wins stack up really fast. And that's the whole point of this strategy. We're just going to take these small wins after small wins and made money off of this coin. Now we're about to move on to the next play. So scalping's part understanding narrative, part understanding price action. You know, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. So you got to remember that some of the most profitable traders in crypto built their port up little win by little win. And if you're able to secure a few hundred or 1,000 on a trade, these stack up extremely fast. So next, let's talk about execution. So the number one rule to scalping is be selfish. Do not be afraid to absolutely Hitler the chart. You need to feel zero shame about what you're doing. Remember, you are an on-chain terrorist. You need to be ready to either sell initials or all your supply at any time and go push that downtrend even further. That means you need to always look for a window to take out your initials. When the coin 1.5x's or 2x's, I'm not afraid to sell 2 to 3% at once. People are going to hate you, they're going to complain to you, but just remember, at the end of the day, you're the one making money. This is a completely valid strategy. You're stacking these consistent wins. And another alternative strategy you can do with this is some traders, what they do is they sell 80% of their bag whenever they're scalping plays. So leaving a moon bag isn't a bad strategy, but I'm personally not a fan of the fact that if you're leaving a small percent of your bag because there's a realistic scenario of a bull catalyst triggering, you may as well hold your bag higher. But if this makes you more comfortable with your trades, go ahead and feel free to implement it. Just remember that you're not going to time the top. Don't try to, just lock in your wins. Big mistake people make when they're starting this is risk. So you're only going to use 5 to 10% of your trenching portfolio per scalp. Your goal is to take profit extremely aggressively. If you make 2 to 3 SOL, that's a win. And what's going to help with that is limiting your trenching wallet and moving profits to a secondary wallet once you hit a certain point. For me, that's around 50 to 100 SOL. Could be different for you, but that's how you're going to build consistency. Now you know how to become an absolute terrorist on the chart. But you're about to tell me, Alex, okay, I'm making consistent money with this strategy, but I'm seeing these insane P&Ls on the timeline. And sure, it's consistent money, but I'm never going to be able to hit those kind of numbers just trading like this. So that's why I'm about to introduce you to the second strategy. And this is going to be how you can find and hold through the winners. As we know, the best way to make money in meme coins is to be on these high volume momentum runners that most of the traders in the trenches are paying attention to and buying. But the big question everybody asks is, how do you get in early on these high volume movers? Well, I'm going to show you exactly exactly how. And this is exactly what I used to turn 2,000 into 200,000 in a single trade. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to happen too often. So the whole goal of this is opposite to the scalping strategy, being extremely restrictive about what you're buying. This way, you're going to be printing consistent money with the scalping strategy, but when a runner does spawn, you're going to know exactly how to execute on them. So for the setup, we're just going to keep it the same, keep the 10,000 market cap, because we still want to take advantage of the scalp opportunities, but that means we need to be a lot more diligent about actually catching good narratives. So when it comes to what kind of narratives these runners have, you need to be extremely selective about what you're going to buy and actually hold. And almost every single runner is going to fit into 3 different narratives. So it can be a culture or a community coin, it can be a tech coin, or it can be a coin made from someone with influence or a tweet. So let's go over the first scenario. How can you identify a culture or community coin runner? So these are coins that are usually centered around popular memes. So how do we determine whether it's actually going to get buys? First, do we see the meme getting engagement on other platforms? So this could be through how many views it's getting, how many people are interacting with it, etc., etc. So for example, MBG coin right here went to almost 7 million, but you could have gotten in at around this range right here. When MBG was first getting volume, the tweet it was centered around had over 100 million impressions on Twitter. For a coin that was only at a couple hundred market cap, pretty insane. And then next, we need to determine who are the people behind the project. Now, this isn't always obvious, but if there are people publicly supporting the project, how much pull do they have, and what are the other coins that they shilled in the past? So for example, House coin right here, a culture coin that's at over 100 million market cap at the moment. The whole narrative is getting a lot of with rumors that we're going into an economic recession and people rotating into crypto. We had this meme come up, one house is going to equal. So this meme was getting a lot of engagement on crypto Twitter. But for House coin, we also had figures like AXIOM publicly supporting it. And this guy rarely hard shills projects, one of which was Dog with Hat, which went to a 4.6 billion market cap. So if we just look at this objectively, anything AXIOM hard shills is strongly backed. Whether you like or don't like this guy, is strongly backed. And ever since he started shilling this, it's continued to go up only. It's cleared already 100 million market cap, and it's still getting some crazy volume. And the final thing we need to figure out about this narrative is how can the culture behind the coin grow organically? So is there an organic bull thesis behind the coin? For House coin, the goal is to make one coin of this equal one house. Narrative is straight and simple. It's in the coin right there. But another decent example for this would be something like the Ice Bucket Challenge, a coin made around the recent ice bucket trend we had going on. So how does this narrative organically gain attention? Simple, we just have more people doing the challenge and it grows itself. So as you can see, kind of violent, but the price went up pretty organically. And this massive candle right here was from Mr. Beast doing the ice bucket challenge. But since then, we can see it retraced hard because after Mr. Beast, who has access to a 1 billion member audience, there's not really too many people that can top that. So unless we have someone like Donald Trump doing the ice bucket challenge, which is pretty unrealistic, there's not really too many bull catalysts left for this coin. But who knows? It could happen, but if you just look at this from an objective point of view, it's hard to see a future realistic bull catalyst for this. The other narrative that these runners can have is they could be a tech coin. There's only one thing that matters, and that's who is behind the project. Ignore all the BS around the tech, all that fancy code you think you need to look at. No, who is behind the project? This is the most important question when you're looking at these tech coins. 99% of the people on chain can't actually read the tech behind these coins. Crypto's an attention market, and what's going to get attention? Someone who's notable, whose accolades you can actually see visibly on the screen, supporting the tech that you're buying. So this could be a VC or a reputable dev, someone you can gauge statistically. How many projects have they worked on? How much money have they raised in the past? Are they associated with a notable company? And the only way you can find this is by doing proper research. So that means looking through the Twitter, socials, website on every single tech coin you see getting volume. And hope you land on something like a LinkedIn, look through their followers, their followings, try to find a LinkedIn, their GitHub, anything you can find that's going to show a figure that you can gauge statistically. For example, Dupe right here went to 6 mil the other day, was backed by Bobby right here, who's invested millions of dollars for e-commerce. That's something you don't need to understand tech for. Any normal person that sees this guy and sees someone who's made products before and invested millions of dollars is behind his project. That's something you can instantly assume is bullish. You don't need to overcomplicate things, just keep it simple. And like like I said, the second you land on a Twitter page, you see a lot of good mutuals following it. They have other profiles. They've done projects in the past. That is going to be the biggest catalyst of any AI run. But beyond that, of course, the coin still needs the fundamentals of everything. And that means, does it even look legit in the first place? Is there real history behind the coin or the person who's behind it? Does the tech even work? If you go on the website, can you do anything with it? Is there an existing app around that tech? Finally, is there a real use case for that tech? Crypto is a pure speculation and attention market. Tech that's not going to have any potential use case in the future is worthless if you're buying the attention aspect of it. So as long as you find one, someone reputable behind the project, and two, the fundamentals of any tech coin, you've got yourself a runner right there. And knowing those fundamentals is why I was able to get a dupe, which I was just talking about right here at around 500k average, because I noticed the influence of the person behind this coin and that it had a real use case. I'm going to be honest, I didn't sell the exact top of this coin. I sold it around a 3 million average, but I was still able to have that opportunity because I knew what I was looking for. And then finally, last kind of narrative that a runner can be is going to be a coin that's made from someone with influence or a tweet. Even more in this case, who is behind the coin? That's the most important question that you need to answer. If a coin's being made off just a pure tweet or influence, it's worthless if the person it's coming from has no attention. So these are coins being made from people like Trump and Elon. But besides those two, a good way to gauge if it's actually going to run is by comparing coins that have been made from this person in the past. A good example, Elon, for instance, hard chilled this coin Peanut and it went to over a $2 billion market cap. So in any case that Elon hard chills a narrative or maybe even a specific coin, you can raise your price ceilings really high. But finally, the last thing we need to determine if this coin's actually going to be a runner is how memeable is the narrative itself. So what I mean by this is you can see Elon retweets and tweets a lot. And every time he does this, there's like 10 coins that come out of the tweet that he's saying. But a lot of the time they get zero organic buys. And that's because even though Elon has a lot of influence, whatever he's tweeting still needs to look good as a meme coin. And that's the difference between these nothing burger tweets that get zero buys and stay at 5k market cap versus something like this coin Poseidon right here, which was made off a meme that Elon tweeted. There's an old saying, if a hot girl texts you about crypto, block it, Poseidon. It's not even that good of a meme, I'm going to be honest. But just the fact that it was a meme itself made it go to 5 million market cap instead of 5k. And as long as you keep these three narratives in mind and the fundamentals behind them, you will inevitably catch a run. But now that we know how to identify these coins, we need to know how to actually execute on them. So after staying on pulse for hours, a decent narrative with long-term potential finally shows up. What is your first move? So the first thing you're going to do is look at how have similar coins done in the past. For example, if you're looking at a tech coin, look for previous tech coins that have ran with similar stats to the founder of the coin that's running right now. Of course, you can't look too far in this because of differing market conditions at the time and other nuanced factors, but it's going to give you a better idea of what the potential ceiling is. And then next, never buy your entire position at once. These moves almost never happen instantly. You want to always be averaging in. If you over leverage on your first buy and you get caught with your pants down, it's going to be so much more painful to hold through the drawdowns. Trust me, you do not want to go through that hell. And with that, on the sell side, you need to determine how many bull catalysts there are and calculate how much you're going to take out on each one. For example, on a culture coin, commit to taking around 25% whenever a person with influence mentions your coin or meme. Same exact thing with the buy side. These moves are never going to happen instantly. And averaging in and out is going to save you so much stress from trying to time the top or bottom. Now you know how to actually execute these. So let me just go over the key thing you need to understand for risk when it comes to this strategy. And that just boils down to one simple thing. Be comfortable with your trade. The conviction you have in these kind of plays should always outweigh the potential loss. And you can make sure that happens by not putting in money you can't afford or you're not willing to lose. If you physically cannot take that loss, it's going to mess with you emotionally and you're not going to be able to look at the trade from an objective point of view. So a good rule of thumb is always consider your investment zero the second you press buy. Anytime you buy a coin, just accept it as a loss until you press sell. That money is no longer in your life. You need to be completely emotionally detached from it. And as long as you keep these rules in mind, you're never going to over leverage yourself and you're going to be able to look at these plays from a trader's point of view. Now you know the exact two strategies to completely dominating this market. But as a final note, there's one more thing you need to integrate into your mindset for both of these strategies. And that's going to be to always find a valid reason for buy. Every time you take a trade and every single trade you take, I'm going to ask you, tell me why you took it. If you've got a valid answer for that, go ahead and execute. And every time you've got an answer for me, don't overcomplicate it. I don't want to hear you yapping. You should be able to tell me the reason why you bought. And of course, trade discipline. This is a real market. There's a reason why people look up the trading and there's a reason why people look down on gambling. As long as you don't force a setup that isn't there, you keep discipline over dopamine, you're going to be a-okay. That's it. The only 2 strategies you'll need to win in this game. In the market we're in right now, it's super important to be able to stack up these small wins and still take advantage of these runners, and these 2 strategies are going to be the perfect way to do that. And if you want to be able to catch these coins with me in real time, go ahead